make sure I get the message that it started. I believe it started. It doesn't tell me, but I think it has. So hi, everybody. I am Julene Reed. Glad you're here today to learn about Class Notebook. And of course, I'll be talking about teams as well because they're interrelated. And so happy you're joining me. So I'm in Memphis, Tennessee. And I will show I just want to say hi first, and then I'll go back to the PowerPoint for just a minute. And then I'm going to share my whole screen with you and share a couple ideas with that. Whoops, that's not the right one. OneNote Wonders is not what we're doing right now. And I thought I had the right one up. So I'll be able to pull that up for you. Here it is. That's so crazy because I had it right here. That one's coming up. That's so weird because it's coming up with that. So funny because it's coming up with here I am already and I'm ready to go and it's acting a little crazy here. Let me look at my other computer. I have two computers here. There is more than one way because I was fixing all my different presentations last night because I have 3 counting today and tomorrow. So let's see what happened with that because the file says Class Notebook, but guess what? It's not Class Notebook. So let me see what this one looks like. But this is Class Notebook, whatever the slides say. And so we're going to be talking about teams and we're going to be talking about Class Notebook. And I see it right here. So I'm going to share this one. And I'm going to turn off the sharing here because that's crazy. It's on one of my computers and it's coming up the other way on my other one, which probably means I didn't open the right file somehow, but we'll not worry about that. So let's just get this over here. Hi, I lived in Kansas City for a while as well. So let me get this sharing with you so you can see it. And you'll have the right presentation now because for some reason it wasn't. So there you go. Hopefully you see the right one now. Yay. Class Notebook, the perfect tool for your classroom, real or virtual. So anyway, I'm Julene Reed and happy to be here. I'm in Memphis and that's where we left off when I figured out the wrong presentation was showing. Welcome to technology. And happy to be joining you today all over the world, it looks like. We're in lots of different places, which is super awesome. And I see Tunisia, I see UAE, I've been over to Bahrain and I've been to Jordan. So I've been around that area and really excited to be starting the session with you because this is a really biggie as we start getting ready for implementing the new school year for some of us. For some of us, we're already in our school year. It's not brand new. And so happy that you're here and we'll see what we can do to make you comfortable and ready to go this year. So I am going to stop sharing my presentation for a second again, because I want to show you how to best manipulate your screen. And probably by now you kind of know this, but I just want to make sure you do, because today it's a great time for you to also be going live. And so I'm going to show you my whole window here, which is a little messy, but that's okay. So now you should see this whole window, which is the wrong presentation that's going there. And this is, let's say here is a browser window I have open. And I also have my Teams window open. So I just wanted to show you a couple things. Let's see if I can get it open. So there's Teams. And what I can do to make this more, make it better for you today so that you can see the screen that you're going to be watching most of the time. One thing is, as I hover over different screens, I get these 3 dots. And if I click on one of those, I should be able to pin that person. So if you hover over, you should be able to click on that and pin the person so that they're right there in front the whole time. The other, or pin and what you want to pin is the presentation. The other thing you can do, and let me close the meeting chat here for a second. So that's our meeting. And the other thing I can do then is open a browser window. And a lot of you have different kinds of machines where it'll automatically go and make it side by side. So for you today, if you're wanting to be live, I would put your browser on one side and put the Meet on the other, unless you have dual monitors, then you can have that happening, or you have the extension Dualist or something. But that's pretty much what you want to do to be able to get the most out of this if you're wanting to participate with me, which is a really good idea to be actively learning. And in that manner, you can be doing things, and you'll see the screen that I'm sharing in something bigger than a postage stamp. Because if you don't, it's going to be that little tiny square on the bottom. It's going to be hard for you to see what's going on that I'm demoing. So that's pretty much what I want to share with you there. And I'm going to quit that presentation and start over here again so you can see the slides. And then we're going to be going back and forth some today. So you'll see me maneuvering between different screens and different computers as we're doing these different things, because I want to be able to go live with you in the middle of this. But for now, you should see, hopefully, and let me make sure I'm seeing it over here because that helps. Let me get it shared. I don't think I am. Let me open it again. There it is. Now I think it's going. There you go. So now you guys should be seeing the presentation. And so going on into the presentation just for a little bit, and then we're going to go in and go live. We're going to talk today about what is Class Notebook. We're going to look at an overview of teams, because they are interrelated. We're going to look at assignments. We're also going to think about creating a class notebook. We'll do one together if you haven't created one before. Some of you have been using Class Notebook, and at any time, I'd love for you to share your experiences. In the chat, you can put any questions you might have. So feel free to do that as well. So be sharing with us as you're going. If you have a great idea of something that's worked really well for you in some way, please let us all know, because that's really important. So let us know if something's of benefit. If you have a question, you can put it in the chat, or if you're having problems, put it there. Or if it's really timely and I haven't stopped, like I'll try to stop once in a while to ask for questions and feedback. If I don't, feel free to use your mic and talk to me and say, I have a quick question. That's totally fine, because I want it to be interactive for you and to make it the best experience for you. So going back, because that jumped on me, and then we'll look at assignments for a little bit, because it is a part of it. Class Notebooks, the assignments are a little part of what you'll be doing in teams in conjunction with Class Notebook. And we'll create and navigate one. We'll look at section and page distribution, and we'll look at resources. One of the things that's helpful if you already have a basic understanding of OneNote, because we'll be working in things like OneNote, and I'll touch on some of the OneNote details. If you don't have that basic understanding, it's not a problem. I'm doing a session in, let's see, this one started at 11 Central Time in Memphis, which is 9 in Pacific Time, and I'll let those of you in other countries figure out what time it was 9 minutes ago. So the next one starts in 5 hours. It'll be 4 Central Time. So in 5 hours is a session on just OneNote. So if you're wanting to learn more then, if it's the middle of the night for you then or something like that, because of wherever you're located today, they're also being recorded, and they're in the YouTube channel we have, and you get to all of them through q.org/Microsoft. So if you don't get to attend it, I actually had a OneNote Wonders the other day. You could go out and watch right away. So we won't go deep into it, but we will talk about it a little bit, and then I'll share some resources with you. So the big picture is, here we are, we're in COVID land, trying to figure out how we're going to start school next year or continue with the school wherever we are. If we're in New Zealand, we're lucky, right? Too bad we don't have them here. They have no COVID right now, it's, no cases. And so for some places, it's not an issue. For some of us in the States, it's become almost more of a hotbed than it was a while back, because it's in more areas than it was before. And so we don't know sometimes yet, even if we're going to be face-to-face, if we're going to be virtual, all virtual, remote learning, or if we're going to be a combination. And it's things that are still kind of up in the air as we see the numbers rise and fall with COVID. It's also something that teachers are rallying for and against as well, because it's important to protect the children and the teachers. And so it's an interesting time, to say the least. The good news is the vaccination was very successful recently in the UK, and hopefully that will be developed soon. So we won't be in this too long, we hope, or too much longer. And everything you're doing can be used in the classroom in any of those 3 situations. When you are back to face-to-face, these are all things you can use anyway. So thinking about blended learning, flipped classrooms, all those ways to really integrate technology to make it a deeper learning experience for students and improve student outcomes and make it more engaging and more motivating, and streamline the process and make it better for you as a teacher as well. And that's kind of what all of this is going to help us do today, to think through this and all the things we're doing with that. So we're wanting to streamline for education, and the goal is still don't get lost in all the tools and the tips and the tricks you're going to be seeing. Keep your focus on what are my learning objectives, what is my goal, what am I trying to achieve, and how can I best do that? And so it's easy to get lost in some of these seminars and PD events going on, but remember what matters the most for you and your curriculum. For equity empowerment, personalized learning is huge, and we can absolutely do that with Class Notebook. I'm going to show you that today. And I also have a session coming up tomorrow about personalized learning differentiation, I think is the one tomorrow. I have so many, keeping track is a little difficult. And thinking about career and college readiness, whatever that's going to look like for the future. So keeping your focus on what you're doing and keeping your focus on your students and what's best for all of you. And we can't teach the way we used to. Even if we're back person to person, face to face in the classroom, it's going to be a different environment. That doesn't mean it's going to be worse. It's just different, and change is hard, but we're going to get there and we're surviving it. And so that's what's important. So we will be doing, looking at Class Notebook today. And so this is what we're doing. This is just kind of an image that shows you what Class Notebook is. It is like a digital notebook. And a OneNote Notebook is a digital notebook that's like a 3-ring binder or a trapper keeper like you used to have. And within that notebook, you have sections. One of those little colored tabs you had red for maybe spelling, and green for reading, and yellow for math, or whatever you did to organize them. Upper keepers too. And so the sections, think of those tabs that separate pages of paper. And then our OneNote Notebook is an overall notebook. And it's all digital. You're taking that notebook and you're making it digital now. And so that's what's so powerful about it, is that it can be accessed by you and your students no matter where you are, no matter what device you're on. And all the work is there to help for students to see what their assignments are, to distribute them. They can do their assignments, and then they can collect them this way. So that's really all the presentation for right this minute, because I'm going to jump to live, and we're going to start playing in Teams, and we're going to play in OneNote Notebook as well. So let me go over here. I don't know why we're seeing that, but let me go down here and change my view. I think it's got the wrong camera for a second. Let me fix that. Let me just check the camera here, because I think I have 2 cameras on this one, and I think it's not looking at me all of a sudden for some reason. So let me look and see. Yep. No, it's on the right one. So I don't know what that is. I'm going to go on, and I'm going to share my screen again, though. We'll just go on because we're not staying there for long anyway. So screen 1. There we go. That's what I want to share anyway, so it doesn't matter. So we're going to look at Teams first, and then how we make a OneNote Notebook. But we'll look at the big picture, because you have Office 365, or you probably wouldn't be here. Looking for Jessica, sorry. I'd like to know how you're able to add the link for this meeting to the website. Okay, we'll talk about that at the end, Jessica. Remind me of that at the end. Sorry, I wanted to see what she said. So you have your tenant that you're in with your district or your school. So however you organize your educational environment, wherever you live. And that's the tenant. That's called the Microsoft tenant. That's that organizational unit that is created with Microsoft by the administration at your school or your district. And within that, we all have SharePoint, where all these different things live. But within that, we all have our own accounts. And our own accounts include OneDrive, which is our virtual storage drive in the cloud. If you're new to this, I do some sessions called Transitioning to Microsoft, and that's the same as Google Drive. So OneDrive is your virtual drive space in the cloud, or it's the virtual hard drive space that you have access to, where all your files live, where you can start new files, everything's there. But if you just go to office.com or to your portal, this is what you're going to see. And this is where you can create your team. And so you can go straight to Teams here. And so you're already in a team, or you wouldn't be here. And so what I want you to do is, and I think, let me see who this is. I think this is somebody else maybe sharing. But what we're going to do here is we're going to look at Teams now. So I'm going to get over here. Let me just get this. And let me get my team up and where I can actually see my team. So I'm going to close this. And I don't know whose window we're seeing there. That's really interesting. but I'm going to go to teams down here and find my team. So we'll just go this way and it'll bring it up for us. So you can look at teams in the cloud. You can also look at teams on your desktop. Here it is. I actually see it now. So here we go. That's my notebook. And here is my team. All righty, here we go. I knew I had it ready somewhere. So I have several teams, and a lot of these are just for PD. You know, this is my PD site. So, I mean, my account with Microsoft, the USMIE account I have. And so when I click on teams once, I will just go to a different place in the team that I might be drilling down into. But when I click on teams and get to this is my dashboard. And so if you've worked in teams, you're familiar with the dashboard. And the way you would create a team, if you want to create one with me today, to go on and start playing in it, is to go on and click join or create a team. So you can join and create a team right here. If you click it, if you don't have a team and you're not going to play, you don't need to do this, but you could just create a team right here. So I could create a team. I can pick what kind of team I want. It would be a class team for you because we're talking about class notebook. You would go on and name it right now. So I'm just going to put practice because I have another one I've already created for today, but I'm going to put practice here. And that would be my team. I can give it a description. I go to next, and I can start adding people, but I don't have to. I can add a co-teacher here if I want to, or I can add students. I can also have students join with a code. So lots of ways to add it. And then there's my team. So to be able to do what we're doing today, if you're going to do it along with us, you'll want to have a team. Now, to be able to have a class notebook and to really push things out, you're going to want to put some people in your team. If you have a co-teacher you could do that with when you're practicing this, you can always add more people just by hovering over these three dots and going down to manage team. And now, once again, I can go in and I can add members. So when you get ready to play, if you haven't been in Teams much, there's a session on Teams I've done, and others have done sessions on Teams. But you could go in, you could add members, because you would want to add someone, either a co-teacher that's going to be a collaborator, but I would add a teacher or somebody as a student, just like as a fake student or something. Like there's one of my student accounts, and I would just add it. So that way you'll be able to experiment more with using Class Notebook. So I'm going to go back and click on Teams right here. And when I click on Teams again, now I can look at the one, this is the one I created last night for you, the GETA training for Class Notebook. So I could go on then and I could upload class materials, find help, all those things. Then I can change what this looks like. This little red thing can be anything I want it to be. I just have to update it. So I just hovered over it and saw the three dots, and now I have a different icon there. So what we're thinking is, we're thinking about how we're going to do this with our classroom. And if you teach in a self-contained classroom, for instance, I've been in education over 25 years. I started in second grade classroom, then I was a tech coordinator and a science coordinator, all in an elementary school. Then I moved to a middle school, high school, where I was director of academic technology for 17 years. And during that time, we had a one-to-one program the whole time, one laptop for every child. So that program was about 20 years old. So we've been doing digital integration for a long time. And as you think about the structure of how you teach, you're going to want a team for every teaching unit you have. So if you teach second grade and you're the classroom teacher and you really don't ever go anywhere else, that's fine. You would have one team. The student, when they look here, might have a dashboard that has Mrs. Reed's second grade class, and then they might have STEAM, if they have a STEAM class, or if they have a music class, or whatever, their special subjects. Art class might have one. If you are a middle school, high school teacher where you teach multiple periods, like you have one class for an hour and then another class comes in, another block or period for an hour, then you would have a team for every period. Period 1, period 2, period 3, however it is, and you can name it, AP History period 1, or whatever you want to call it. Block A, whatever makes sense to you in your environment. So think about how you teach, and every group of students you're teaching would have their own team. You wouldn't want them all on the same team. You want to divide them up. So when you're in your team, you have posts where you can post right here and add new conversations and all the different things down here that we've talked about in the team sessions. We can also immediately go to our Meet right here. So we can go up here, and I have found that there are a few places that don't have this Meet icon here. So if you don't see that, and Microsoft we've been working with Microsoft to figure out why I have it and others don't. But this is where I could say Meet Now or schedule a meeting to be live. I can also do that right through the calendar. So if I schedule a meeting in the calendar, I can do it that way as well. And this meeting would just be for this team only. So then I can have channels, break kids into groups, and they're even making that more advanced coming up. One of the things they're starting to roll out, and it may have already rolled out to you in your district or your tenant, wherever you are, and it's a gradual rollout, but it's popping up all the time, are new ways to look at your video meets when you're doing it. So you can have a grid of up to like 49 people now in that meet, like the Brady Bunch thing with 49. They also have one that honestly is interesting. I haven't seen it. The picture looks a little different. And it looks like we're sitting in a college class or something where the seats are all tiered in rows, and everybody's face ends up on a different spot in the rows. So it looks like you're actually talking to your kids in a classroom. That's a new one that's coming out too. So that's just for you to think about. In Teams, we have assignments, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on this because this was actually covered in a lot of the Teams meetings. But this is where you would assign things to your kids. You would get started. You would create an assignment, and to create an assignment, I can use an existing one. If I have one somewhere else, I can do a quiz or a straight assignment. And when I do these, if I teach multiple classes, I can assign them to all my classes at once. So if you haven't worked in assignments, this is where the assignments are. So I would just type the name of it, Rainforest Frog. And I would say, whatever I'm going to say here, just say, be sure. I have pushed out the worksheet for your rainforest unit. Please be sure to complete it by whatever the date is. I can give it points. I can add a rubric. So I can say this is 100 points, and then I can add the rubric here if I want to create a rubric, super easy. And then you can reuse that same rubric several times. So here are some I've just done for fun, but I can upload one if I have one already. I can make a new one, and it's just different criteria. I don't remember what this one looks like, but you would just put criteria on here, and you would information and give it points. And then that rubric shows right there when you're grading. And when you grade, all you have to do is say, get a 4 on this part of the rubric, a 3 here, or however you set up. You just go click, 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 and it assigns a grade. So that's super easy. And then I can assign it to several notebooks. If I have more than one notebook, I could pick, if I have several periods, I could assign to different periods, or several teams, I should say. I can assign to all students, or I can differentiate and assign things to a certain group of students or just a student. So you can differentiate that way too. And then the other thing you can do is you can create right here. So if you're going to, you have your due dates, all those things. And if you're going to create an assignment, you can create it right within here. And if you create something in, let's say, Word that you want them to use, and so I'm going to say they can either use something in my Drive or something in my class notebook. I'm going to do a new file. It's going to be a Word document. I don't have to actually go leave it and create it. I can attach it right here, and that would be the document they all get. And the cool thing is I can decide if they're all going to have the own copy and they're all going to edit their own copy, or if they're just going to have one that they view. So you have different options for that too. So that's just your quick drive-by overview of, and I'm going to discard that instead of save it. I can assign it or save it for later, but I'm going to discard that one. That was just a quick overview. So those are your assignments, and that's going to tie into your class notebook. So the next thing we're going to do, if you've been kind of just driving with me and looking around, the next thing is up here at the top. And you know what? I just realized that's a little tiny. I don't know if I can make it any bigger. No, it's not going to get bigger. But up here at the top, it says assignments right here. I'm going to assign, I'm sorry, it says class notebook. Sorry, the brain didn't advance. My hand was thinking it, but my brain didn't. or vice versa. So here's class notebook. So now we haven't created one yet. So what class notebook is, it's going to give you a notebook, a OneNote notebook for you. It's a little different. You'll have the ability to make one that's just yours within there. And teachers tend to do things different ways, and I'll talk about that in a second. But we're going to set up this class notebook. And what this does is it gives us different sections. And then it's going to give every student in my team or my class a copy of their own OneNote notebook. They're going to get their own OneNote notebook that I made for them. So I decide how that notebook's set up. They're all going to get one that they will use. And then I can push materials out to them. I can distribute materials. I can distribute sections. I can distribute pages. I can delete them. And they can access common files. And they have a collaboration space. There's 100 ways to use it. And it is the one thing that I think this and learning tools with the immersive reader are the two most powerful things for education that Microsoft has right now. It's the Teams and OneNote notebook or class notebook, the Teams and class notebook, and the other is immersive reader. Those two things are hugely powerful. So I'm going to set up a OneNote class notebook right here. If I had another notebook that I wanted to use the same content from, I could use this right down here. But I'm going to start with a blank one. So if you're playing with me, go on and create one. We can delete this whole team later. This is just a practice team we're playing in. And then if you're really going to be working more in that, you know, you're really ready to start making your classes, you could make this be one of your classes you're starting in. So I'm going to stop for a second here because I see Sharon has a question. Can I show how, Sharon, how to make one? Because that's what we're going to do now. Is there something else? Sharon or Sharon? Already answered. Awesome. Yeah, good. Any other questions? All righty, here we go. So this tells you what you're going to get in a class notebook. You're going to have a collaboration space. That's where your notes are stored for everybody to edit. They can all edit that content. So that space is really useful because everybody in this class can edit it. Yes, and until you set those norms for that, you might want to disable that collaboration space, which I'll show you how to do. It'll create it, but we can disable it until we set the norms for how to use that collaboration space. And then we have the content library. This is where I can publish course materials to the students. And I can edit it, but the students can only see them. They cannot edit it. Then we have the teacher only section. This is a private space for you. Only I can see it, only I can edit it. It's just my private little area. And then we have student notebooks, and every student will have their own notebook created, and they can edit it. They can add more sections. They can go in and add pages. They can work out however they want. It's their notebook, but I create it for them, and I can see it, and I can edit it. So I can quickly go through each student and see how they're doing. So I go next, and these are my sections, my tabs. Like I said in that one, that free rebinder you used to have, you had those cardstock pages with the colored tabs. That's what these are. In fact, they even put a little color, they even put a tab icon here. And in your own notebook, you can make them be any color you want them to be. So they suggest 4. But I can do whatever I want them to be. I can create this to be whatever I want. I can edit this text, I can delete it, and I can add more sections. So go on and just play with that for a second as we're going, and I'm just going to put classwork here. Because classwork, class notes, homework, quizzes, trying to think what else I might have, handouts. I'm just putting things up here. And I think like later, I wish I'd added a section for them about something else. It's easy. You can push them out to them. You can push them out to all your kids at once, and you can push all the assignment pages out at once, all the content pages. And I wouldn't wait till as they're walking in the room to do that, because sometimes it takes the network or the system to do a little bit of time, depending on how many students you have and how much capacity or how much media you might have in that page, how large that page is as far as content. So you want to do that ahead of time. So Rebecca says, my understanding is that once you create a tab, you can't delete a mass. Is that correct? I think they just changed it, and when we get in here, we'll double check it, because you're right. You used to not be able to delete anything. And I think I don't know about the tab, the sections, I'll check, but I know we used to be able not to do that. We used to not be able to do that. And I think that might be a new change. In fact, I just saw a change I haven't seen before, where we saw teacher section. I saw the teacher section on the list of what the components are, and that was never there before. I was like, wow, maybe it's automatically making that now, because we used to have to manually make it, which I was going to show you today. So I'm going to go on to create. And it's making my notebook. And after you make one, you can go on and create more. The student should not be able to delete a tab that you created. The student could delete a tab they create on their own, but not one that you created for them. And it takes a little bit, but not long. So here's my class notebook. It looks like a OneNote notebook. It opens right here. And the way I open that again, let me just go back. Let me just click on Teams and go back to it so you'll see it, because I did that so fast. I don't know if you saw it. Here's my class notebook. It's going to open again. And this is just a placeholder page. It gives you information. So you can look at this, but you can delete it all once you kind of know it. You don't have to have it. And then this arrow right here, this sideways arrow, is how I open the side of it. So click right here. And now this is my navigational structure. Now, let me tell you one thing. This is kind of a small screen right here. It may be small on here, but what you can do, I can open this in a browser if I want to. It kicks me out of Teams, but opens the class notebook in a bigger window. So when you're actually working it, you could do that. So remember, we had a welcome. We had a collaboration space that I told you about that we can enable or disable. Each one of these are tabs. These are our sections. Each one of these is a section. The welcome section, the collaboration space section. And notice when I open it, there's a subsection. So I can even have subsections. And it's going to tell me all about how I can use this space. And the way I create sections is down here. If you have not worked in OneNote Notebook, it's down here where it says section on the bottom. It has a plus. I can also right click and get up in here and create a section, but the best way is just to create it by doing a plus here if I want more sections. These are the standards that come through it. Then I have my content library. This is where I can put information that students can access, files they can access, content for the class. I can also add files up here at the top. Those are files I can add as well. But content library is in class notebook and files is in Teams. That's part of the Teams menu across here. This is files within the class notebook. And you don't have to create it, you don't have to use the team, but let me tell you one thing that I didn't mention that's extremely important. If you're making a class notebook, always start with Teams, because then you make the class notebook within the team. Those are your meets, your team meetings and everything. If you make a class notebook separately, it's a one-way street and I can't go back and make a team with it. You have to start with Teams and then make the class notebook, because it's a one-way street. Because if I think, oh, I just have class notebook here, I'll just make it here, I don't have to do Teams. You can't take it backwards. It's that one-way street. So always start with Teams, then make your class notebook. And if you want to, you don't have to use the team, but it is an awesome place for you to do all kinds of things if you haven't attended with those sessions or use the Teams. It's awesome. And that's how you do your meetings. If you're virtual, that's how you want to do your meetings. So make sure you start with Teams and do the notebook like we just did. And we did that just through the regular menu on Teams and hit class notebook and created it. So back here, this is your content library. And this is new. I told you I thought this was new. You said you wouldn't know how to make the teacher section. You don't have to now. They've added it in, and hallelujah, because everybody made one. We all went off and made a teacher section. And yet it wasn't automatic. And when I saw it on that screen a minute ago, I thought, that's brand new. That's interesting. And it is. So they just rolled that out. So now I have my teacher only section group. Yay. This is where I can make my own pages and have my own little notebook here. Some people keep their own professional teaching OneNote notebook as a separate notebook and then move sections into the class notebook. Some teachers do it all right here, and that's just a personal preference. It's whatever your workflow is, what's best for you. And I would check with people who've been doing this and see what they recommend for their workflow. And then these are just a couple of my aliases. These are me that pretend like this is the student Julene Reed, and this is the student Julene Reed. These are different email addresses of mine. I wish I could change the name here, but I can't. But these are actually what your students would look like. This would be Mary. This would be John. And so remember when we made these, I had class notes, I had classwork, I had homework, quizzes, handouts. Once in a while, and I don't know why this happens, you notice down here they're not in the same order? I can drag them up and make them in the same order if I want to. And I don't know why that's happening, but I've noticed that happening a couple of times. So now I have class notes in both, and then I have classwork. See, they've moved around, and I don't know why they did that when they first created. It's one of those glitches that I don't understand. So hopefully they'll figure that out. And they don't have to be in the same order, and probably the kids might be able to move them around anyway, but they shouldn't be able to delete them. That was a question. And then quizzes was down here. I don't know how well we did that, but you can move those around. Then I can close them by hitting that little chevron, that little downward pointing arrow is the chevron that expands. And so I'm back to welcome, collaboration, content, teacher only, and then to students. All right, let me look here. Once you wake up and set the notebook up, the notebook populates all the students in that team. Well, if I add a large group of new students later, will I have to add their tabs manually? No, in your settings up here, I think it's right here in this, when I'm at my team and I manage my team, I can go to my settings, and right here I can get a team code. So under settings, so I manage my team and go to settings, here's a team code. So they can join with a team code as well. You don't have to put them individually, but if you have large groups, I'd have each group in a different team. I would not have them in the same team. I mean, if they're coming to you in a large group, if you're teaching 50 students at once, then yeah. But if you're teaching 3 sections of 20 or 25, then those should be 3 different teams. So I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to go on and go back here just to my teams and go to general. General is just my regular everything, the general part. And we're going to look at the distributing and everything. Let me look at my questions before we go any farther. And if you have any questions right now, it's a great time to ask one. Okay, how to move them. I'll show you that. Remind me at the end that I answer your question about how to move them. And pretty much you just right click on that section and it says move or copy. And then you pick where you want to move or copy it, and you pick the notebook where you want to put it. It should take you right there. It will automatically push out. I see what you're saying. Yes, it will automatically push out the tabs when you add new users or go and create it. Good. Thank you for answering that for her, Rebecca. And how do you move tab you created? All right, so let's go on and look here for a second because I want you to see the beauty of Class Notebook. Any other questions before I go on? And you can open your mics. This is such an awesome tool for you to really use and organize your class. So I'm just going to show you a couple of things. So I don't think I put anything in my content library, but this is where I would start adding content. So right now, if I made a section, if I had a content and I wanted to push something out, I could make a page here. And the content I'm going to push out needs to be here, 3 frogs. I'm going to push something out to my kids. I'm going to push this content out to them. And so this is a page I'm going to distribute. And I'm actually going to upload in here. If you haven't worked in OneNote, it's dynamic text. So wherever I click, it's going to let me put my text. And that takes a little getting used to, but it's really awesome when you start understanding how that works. So I'm going to insert here because I have a file. And let me think where it is. I need to add to my files first. Let me think where it is. Upload it as a file printout. And I need to select it. Oh, there it is. Okay. insert as a file printout. It's on my hard drive. It could be other places too, but it's here. It's called Tree Frog, and I picked a PDF on purpose. So I clicked insert, and I told it wanted to be a file printout. What's the difference between a link and a file attachment or a file printout? So an attachment is just going to give you the link, and you can access it. A file printout is going to give you a picture of it, the actual picture of the document. So that's what you want to do is a file printout if you're doing something similar to what I'm showing you. So here's my Tree Frog assignment I want to push out to my students today. And this is what it looks like. Now, I can push it out just like this, but the other thing I can do that's really awesome is I can click on it. Hold on. I can set this as a page background. It should let me set it as a background. And why isn't it? Because when you have, see if it may do it here. When you put a PDF in here, it should let you set it as a background. And I don't know why it's not. It may be because I'm not highlighting it correctly. Let me try that. Because what you're going to do, maybe I was in there. Nope. What you want to do when you're setting it as a background, and I'll try to figure out why that didn't work for me, but when you have a PDF or an image you're putting there and you want them to be able to write on it and not have it move around, you right click on it and it should just say set as a background image. And so that way they can write on it and it's going to stay in one place. And I have no idea why that didn't work. So I'll have to experiment that. It'll make me crazy now. But it should let you just go on and set as a background image. But for now, what we're going to do is we're just going to move on because I don't want to hold up. Maybe, okay. I'm in Class Notebook. Remember, this is where I am. I'm in my content library. I have a page called Tree Frogs. And I'm going to push this page out. I'm going to distribute it to my students. I have 2 students in this class. And that is my 2 students that are my name. I mean, unfortunately, I don't have other names. They're just my name. Usually I'm working in a district's tenant or school's tenant, and I have you guys can join, which I would have had you do for this training and be my students. However, you can't join as a guest in the MIA account, so it doesn't work that way. Here's where I can distribute a new section, and I can distribute just one page. I can distribute, this is where I distribute pages. One page, I can do it to individuals, so I can individually distribute things to my students, not to the whole class. Or I can do it to everybody, a group distribution or just to everybody. When I do distribute page, it goes to all the notebooks. Individual goes to the students I select. Group goes to a group I've set up. And I can do it to multiple notebooks at once. So if I had 5 sections of my course, it can go to all those sections at once. And I can delete a page here. Now let's look at sections. It doesn't let you delete a section, it's just the page. So I can distribute a new section and I can distribute a new section group. I don't know that you can delete a section right now, and that's something they should allow us to do. They didn't even let us delete a page, so we can delete a page. So that's really interesting. So anybody, I know, Rebecca, right? But you know what, give them feedback. Send them feedback, and where you go to their help and stuff and tells you some feedback, tell them, and I will also send that feedback. Can you rename a section? That's a good question. We'll have to go back and look. Maybe we can in the management. We'll look at that in a second, because over here we can manage our notebooks and we can look at that. I can copy this to the content library if I want to. So I can copy this document to the content library, but I've already put it in there. So I could put it in there, but it's already there. I've added it. So, and I can review student work here, which is so awesome. You're going to love that part. So right now, I have this page, and I'm going to distribute this page. So I'm just going to click here, and I'm going to say distribute page. What's going to happen? Let me close this one. It wants to know, where do I want that page to go? This is going to go in your classwork. So I'm putting this in their classwork, and I tell to distribute. If I had said individuals, it would let me pick which students are getting it. But this one's going to all the students, and it wants to know, where should I put it? And I'm putting it in classwork. So here it goes, and it will keep distributing. And this is why I say don't do this with 30 kids as they're walking in the door. Give yourself time for it to distribute. It really doesn't take long. But as soon as it gives me the message right here that it's done, I can close that and I can go look and see if everybody has it. And it may be done, but sometimes it takes a little bit for it to show up. But we'll see if it shows up. Class notes, tree frogs. That student just got it. I just want to see if I can set it as a background there. Now that's so weird. So we're gonna have to check that one out. That's driving me crazy. But now they can write right here. They can work right here in this document, and they can work as a student, and they're able to do this as their classwork. I just gave it to them. And then as a teacher, here's the classwork here, I have the ability too to go through and look at everybody's, here's tree frogs there. Yep, it's in both the students. So both my students have that now. And then if I wanted to, I could go up here and I could say review student work. And I can say, I can choose to review their classwork and go to next. And what page do I want to review? True frogs, and go to next. And now here's this person, and I can look at theirs. And then here's this person's, and I can look at theirs. And I can go down the list and see all those pages one at a time. I don't have to keep going to each notebook for each student. I can do it right here. I can sort by first name, last name. I can do page locking. I can leave comments here. I can put notes in here, all those things. And so this is a really awesome tool for you. So I can send them feedback right here, all kinds of things. So I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to close this. So we've looked at the distributed page, distributed a section, all these things. I want to show you managed notebooks. This is where I used to have to go to a teacher section, and it's enabled now automatically. Here's where I can lock or unlock that collaboration space. And at the very beginning, I just lock it. And then when you're ready to use it and have them collaborate in it, then open it. So that's where you do it. And then to rename a section like you asked, I think you can rename it right here. Once you get in that managed notebook section, I can say, maybe I want classwork to be classwork, not classwork. And I can add another section here and push it out. So I'm going to save it. So now what should happen is theirs should go back, and I'm going to close this. And when I go to my class notebook again and click on class notebook and I open it and look at class notebook here, that's how I got there, was managed notebook. But let's go see if that got changed down here yet. Classwork just got changed. So that's how I was able to change it. So a trick you could use maybe, Rebecca, I know it's frustrating that you can't delete a section, but maybe you can delete all the pages in the section and rename the section. You know, that seems really crazy, but if it works, it works. So that might be a backdoor that would be easier for you. It's not as easy if I just said delete section or remove section. But I always think, outside the box backdoor. So that was just a spur of the moment thing. You have to do it manually for each section. That's a pain. Yeah, that's a real pain. So that's how Class Notebook works. And I wanted to take you back and show you some resources that I have for you as well before we end. But I still am going to go crazy about why my OneNote Notebook won't let me lock a PDF on there, because it should. I'm just going to do something else and just see if I can get another, just for fun, because I don't understand that. And I'll figure it out later. But just know that if you set it as a background image by right-clicking on it, I want to file printout. I'm just going to see if I have any other PDF there I can use, because I know it's not going to work with that one, or a Word document. This is not my regular work computer, but here we go. Here's a PDF of Sway, the whole presentation I did the other day. Let's just see if it'll, of course, this is huge. It's probably not going to work because it's huge. So, but you should be able to just right click on it when it's there and tell it to, in a OneNote notebook you can, and you should be able to set it as a background image. So I'm not understanding why I want to do it for here. But going back here for a minute, and let me see if I have any other questions here or anything else here. Where would you put an interactive activity that students should be able to click on to find out their assignment? And Jane, you want to explain exactly what you mean by that one? And you can just open your mic.
So yeah. I'm thinking of a virtual classroom landing page, and you have interactive features in it so that they could click on Flipgrid or and go to that assignment. I'm just wondering if there's where you would put an interactive page. Would it be on the welcome, or would it be?
You can put them, like, here's the conversations. If you haven't been in Teams much, you can put all kinds of cool stuff in here. And you can add things here and just say, go do the flip grid or whatever. And you can add the flip grid node up here, because when you add a tab, you can add Pear Deck, you can add flip grid right here. And it's going to want you to add it, and then it's going to ask you for the code. So you would put the code right there. And that would just say, in the chat, you say, go up above and do this flip grid. If you get them used to coming to Teams first, it could also be over here on the side. Other than that, and that would just be give them the message down here in the conversation and then add it up here with that plus to the interactive thing that you're doing. The other thing, and somebody else might have a good idea. The other thing you might do is, I wonder if in an assignment, if you could add a flip grid, you could make an assignment. They come and check their assignment, and then you'd have the flip grid code and you were all there. And it would take them there. So I think those would be your two options. Anybody else? Will it stay open in present mode?
Yes, adding to her question, so it's a link to a PowerPoint that opens up, and it's a virtual classroom where there's numerous of icons that is a hyperlink. So I teach second grade, and I want it to be a visual because they're not much readers at this point. So I want the PowerPoint to open and see the picture, and they could click on the icons that they recognize as, their assignments. So what we're asking is, if we add a link, my question is, can it stay open in presentation or present mode without them opening up the PowerPoint, and you have to click on the little present mode? Does that make sense?
Okay. And they're doing it not while you're online. They're doing it synchronously or asynchronously?
Asynchronously.
Asynchronously. Mm-hmm. If somebody has an option to think of, I'm thinking through. If somebody has an idea, let me know. I know that, and I don't think this is going to solve it though. You can add it, come on, as a file up here. But if it's added there, once it's in there, they would have it. But I don't know if I can, because I could upload and I was thinking maybe if you upload it as a PDF, are the links still active?
Some of it.
Yeah.
No, you know what? No, because it turns into a flat PDF. No.
Okay. Now, if they're not active, then, you can upload the PowerPoint there, but it's not present mode, I don't believe. I don't think it's automatically in present mode. But you know what? I wonder if you could export it a different way, because there are some options to export as a web page and things like that. You might look at some of those options to export it and see if that would work. Anybody else have an idea? Or do you have something?
Add it as a plus, as an actual tab. It's tab and change it and keep on weekly. Do a weekly.
Just do a weekly PowerPoint. And I don't know what I have here.
But I don't know if it will stay in present mode.
Yeah, that's the problem I don't know about, is the present mode part of it. There are all these things you can add, but I don't know about the present mode. And I know why you're saying that, because I taught the little bitties, and they're not going to be able to get to all those things right away. So yeah, I'll think about that. I'm not real sure. Yeah, it's a good question. I would just keep playing. I wish I had your answer, and I was hoping somebody else might. But I'm not real sure. So let me go back and stop presenting here, and let me show you the rest of the slides, because there are some things here for you that I want you to see, some resources. And you know what, if you email me that question, any questions, it's going to drive me crazy about the background image with the PDF. But if you email me questions like the one you just had, I can check with the MIE Academy, because I'm happy to do that with our list. And I can ask them, because when I don't know, oftentimes one of them does know. So just email me the question. I'll give you my email in just a second. It's on these slides. So we've done the exploring. And I've got some examples here. So this next one that you're looking at, this slide that you're seeing right now, that very top one, I love the examples that are here. They're from Real Classroom, and that's where the tree frog activities come through from. And that will give you some ideas of things you can create and push out to your kids and ways you can organize it. And they're from, schools across the country. I think a couple of international schools as well. So look at the first one for education samples. The second one is more of a staff notebook type of sample. And the third one has samples, but I like the first one the best. And so this one is where they had the life cycle of the tree frog, and you can download the different things that are here for you. And then I've given you resources. So if you go here and you click on these are all interactive, but they take you to learn where you are with Office 365. The Microsoft Educator community is an awesome place, and that's the link to that one. And then I've also given you, that's just, a graphic. But then I've given you something else too, some other resources. Come on. I don't know why it jumped there. Oh, it's taking me to the other screen. So let me see. There we go. I think I started going crazy with this one mouse I have has been acting up for a couple of days. So there are some more resources for you on that page. And hopefully you'll see that. And then we've been doing questions, but here's where you can get the slides for this. Not that we had a lot of slides for this. For some of these, I have a lot of really detailed slides, but this one I took you live, so there's not a lot there. That's where you can get the slides, bit.ly.com/qslides, and there'll be a PDF that's there for you. So I will upload that as soon as we're done here. And you know what, if I can figure out the darn why it didn't go as a background, I'll put that note there for you. And be sure and go back. We have lots of sessions this afternoon. I'm doing the Onenote class notebook. So if you want to look at that, and I have more coming up. And there's my email address if you're interested in that as well. So lots of things happening, as far as these sessions. They're going all through August right now, and then we'll see where we are at that point. They may continue after that. I'm not real sure. And so keep watching for others coming up. And then that's pretty much it for today. So I'm just going to put my email address back up there for you in case you want that. So I'm here with any other questions. I can show you where it tells you to push it out. But it's just when you right click on a section, it'll say move or copy section. And you should be able to navigate and move it right to where you want to be. The trick I have, or the problem I have sometimes, is that sometimes I'm in different tenants, and it's hard when you go through different tenants. And so that's difficult. Okay, you want me to walk you through the link, Jessica? You mean the link to push it out, or the link to get the slides? Which link are you talking about? Yeah, thank you for coming. I'm going to stop the recording, and then I'll stay and answer any questions you have.